There's no way you could complain about any of this stuff if your whole vibe is awkwardness. Like, come on, we not listening to that shit. We not listening to it. Stop playing with us. You're the awkward one.
And then he comes up, he's like, oh, hi. Gives me like a half hug, and I'm just like, hi. Then goes back to his spot, and I'm like, dude, I don't even want to do this. I'm texting my friend, like...
And if you don't want to do it, why don't you just leave? You already did an interview with Drake. You already was up in the up. You could have just dipped. You don't have to use mans. You could have just dipped if it was so bad for you. If it was so awkward. You already know what time it is. Sorry, boom. We'll be reacting to the fastest rise and fall in podcast history. You already know who it's about. That girl, Bobbi. Don't remember her last name. Althoff. Seen some of her stuff. Real awkward in some of her videos. But then in her recent stuff, she was very, you feel me, active. Let's get into it.
So Bobbi Althoff is a name that has set these internet streets ablaze.
All right, so boom, it is Bobbi Althoff, and let's keep it a stack. I mean, I personally don't think she's funny. I don't think she's funny. I don't think any of her podcasts are funny. I think that she was getting carried by the other creators in her podcast
for around the last month or so. It all really started when she interviewed no other than comedian Funny Marco, who is well known for his deadpan, awkward style of humor, which is very popular in the modern...
But he's actually funny. He's actually funny. Like, you feel me? Like, it's different. Like, there's nothing wrong with adapting styles because, you know, every individual would be different, or better or worse, or have their own take on it. But I feel like he's actually funny with what he was doing. And her, I don't get it, bro.
Era amongst comedians. And this clip from that interview kind of shows off what I'm talking about.
Rip me out the plastic, I've been acting brand new. Rip me out the plastic, I've been acting brand new. You know what that is?
Is that Nicki Minaj?
Just the lyrics he's singing itself are funny. It just feels like, you know, he should maneuver like that.
So as you guys can see, there's not really much to it. It's just like an hour of this back and forth awkward banter. But like I said, this type of thing is very popular. I don't find it to be very funny, but a couple of these clips went absolutely viral. And after this, we would soon see her get the attention of...
See, I think it's weird though, because like her and Funny Marco doing a podcast like that, I could see that making sense. Like, he's awkward. She's playing to be awkward because I've seen some of her other clips and she's not awkward. She's talking regular. So whatever, if it's like an act or whatever, like them two, that makes sense. It's like W content. But like Tyga, Drake, Yachty, especially what she said about Yachty afterwards.
Tyga, Drake, Lil Yachty, Mark Cuban. And all of a sudden, in the course of like 30 days, she suddenly had one of the hottest podcasts on earth. Now, obviously, this led to a lot of people speculating that she could actually be the world's very first industry podcast plant. This is something that has been very common within the music industry, where an artist comes out and sees this astronomical rise, and suddenly they're getting features with some of the biggest artists on the planet, and basically just getting these opportunities.
Yo, why he did Ice Spice dirty? Had her in the double framed her. Why y'all double framed Icy? Leave her alone. She a baddie with her baddie friend. She a baddie with her baddie friends. You feel me? Leave her alone.
Decent looks that people would not typically receive when they're first starting to get some buzz around their name. And this is where the term industry plant comes from, because people feel like there's somebody in the background pulling these different strings and controlling the career of this person to make them basically come out of nowhere and seem bigger than life. You see, this woman started out on the mommy TikTok side of things, making videos like this, where, you know, she still kind of shows off her awkward side. It's almost like she's making fun of the moms at TikTok. And basically, I would say that she was kind of doing the same type of dry humor.
Stop looking awkward. You look awkward.
Okay, see, like, cool. That's solid. I've never seen that before. So, like, that's interesting. So she had already been making dry humors. Okay, I can see it. Okay, that makes more sense now. But let me know what y'all think. Do y'all really fuck with her content, or do you think it's just Like if you see it, cool, but you wouldn't go out of your way to look for it or watch it.
Smile. Just look entertained then. Like, play with your ring or something. Look entertained. Do anything. Maybe just go to the bathroom. Maybe that'll be better. No. Okay. Wash your hands, but don't wash them too long. Make sure it's long enough that they know you washed your hands for the full time, but not too long.
I don't really understand why people think this type of thing is funny, but then again, there's people who probably think the things that I find funny are completely idiotic. Obviously, in general, humor is one of the most subjective things on the planet. And so either way, she gets this Drake interview, and this is when she really started popping off.
Am I your type?
I'd do it.
Thank you.
But see, the whole thing is, I feel like in these interviews, she's not the one making it entertaining. Like, I guess that's not fair. The questions she asks sometimes are good questions, but she's not the one making the responses that would make us normal folk that like regular things laugh.
Like I do it.
You do it. I asked, am I your type? And you said I do it. It's not funny.
And so it's basically just an hour of this
Drake is ridiculous for that, but I would have been laughing too. Stupid ass question.
awkward situation. And obviously this is where the industry plant speculation began, as people wondered, how is this girl who's only on her second podcast episode ever get Drake as a guest? We know by now that Drake does not like to do interviews. Any statement that comes out from him at this point is very controlled. When it comes to these type of things, he gets the final edit. They're filming on his cameras, he has the memory cards, and basically he just has a stranglehold over the content. I guess what I'm trying to say...
But the whole thing too is, didn't she say like she spent $300 to get into contact with somebody who knew Drake? Who's seen her Funny Marco podcast because Funny Marco was in it, so he wanted to do one with her as well?
Is this man would not just do an interview with anyone, and so for him to choose her of all people to do this interview with, people found that to be very fishy. You know, it'd be one thing if she was like a DJ Academics, who by the time he started his podcast Off the Record, was already notorious for his work on Complex. Obviously, his YouTube channel had millions of subscribers and billions of views. He had already built this large fan base for himself, so it's not the craziest thing when he comes out with his podcast and gets some big-time guest. Whereas her, on the other hand, just comes out of left field at a mommy TikTok, and all of a sudden, within a month's time, she has one of the hottest podcasts on the planet. And this is actually her side of the story.
I'm not going to hold to y'all. That is a success rate that is kind of fire, though. To come out of left field, if she's not an industry plant. Let me make sure I specify. If she's not an industry plant. If she comes out of left field to catapult into that kind of success, I mean, who wouldn't assume she did some things to get there or whatever? But I still just don't think the content is funny. I can't get behind it. You feel me? It's not for me.
When it comes to how she got Drake to do this interview.
Drake liked one of the videos I had uploaded, and he followed me. I didn't realize it at first. Marco called me, and he was like, Bobbi, look who just followed you. So I filtered it to verified only people, and I was like, oh my God, like why would he follow me? He's like, he liked the video, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna shoot my shot to Drake. I don't know how this... I thought the chance of him replying was like a 1%, and the chance of him saying yes was like 0.000. Yeah. I was like, there's no way. So I was like, come on my podcast. I said, when are you going to come on my podcast?
And he said,
game right away. He was ready to do it.
Yeah, so this story is like completely different than what I heard on Twitter and on TikTok. They said that she paid $300 to get in contact with him. But this sounds more accurate. Like in the age of the internet, you feel me? I don't think it would be too difficult. Hold on one second. All right, we back. I don't think it'd be too difficult for a celebrity to see a viral podcast clip on TikTok or Twitter or Instagram, especially if they already been watching stuff from Funny Marco and things like that. It wouldn't be a stretch for a celebrity to want to be on a podcast, especially if he thinks it's new, it's popping, it's funny, and that it's gonna be good for his brand. I could see that being a thing 100%.
Out there 3 days later.
Wow. And then you're off to the races. Now you can kind of get anybody you want.
Yeah.
So one thing...
Obviously, people felt like this story was a whole lot of cap, and that there must have been someone behind the scenes that made this all happen. Here she goes into more detail about the Drake interview.
But Drake gave me the social clips that I could use, And then he was like, which one are you going to pick? I was like, I'll do this one. He's like, okay, let's just tease it. And like, obviously I'm going to trust him because my initial thing was like, I was just going to upload the video to YouTube. Like I had always been doing, I had no strategy. I was on my own. I wasn't even like sure how to upload to Apple at all. I didn't know anything. I was like, I don't know how to even make this a real podcast. And I posted the thing. I got a message from Andrew at WME. He says, like, I'm part of the touring team. Can we talk? I said, okay, because I had like I didn't know what I was doing. They signed with me that night, and then
So you just didn't meet with anybody else? You're just like, this guy hit you.
So there she says a day after she dropped this clip, apparently some talent agent sees it. He calls her up that night and they sign this miraculous deal. No lawyers hired.
That sounds fishy as fuck. Like, what? So you get the interview with Drake first, and then a talent agency wants to sign you. They didn't see the talent previously. If the Funny Marco podcast was such a high-tier podcast and you were doing great after that, they didn't see an ounce of talent in you before that until the Drake. Someone's in here. Someone. I smell cat. I smell lies. Somebody in here hunching.
No one looked at the contract. Nah, she just trusted this guy. And this is what DJ Academics had to say about WME.
Okay. DJ Academics, boy, look, let's see what Act got to say. You know, it's going to be something ridiculous this time. Or maybe he'll be right. He could be right. You know, he is in the industry. Maybe he should know something, right? They don't know more than us. We're on the outside looking in, but soon we're going to be on the inside. Pause.
Talent agency.
An agency that's never had any foothold in podcasting comes out with an individual that has the biggest guest. So she's with WME, William Morris Endeavors. She goes out 8 podcasts later. She's like one of the biggest podcasters now. Guess the irony. Everybody, including her big guests, including the biggest guest, Drake, guess who they're signed to? WME. This is where... Hey, yo, what the fuck?
It's a conspiracy, boys. It's a conspiracy. Like, now we're in the nitty gritty. Conspiracy theories is, you know, where it's at. Sorry, I have a camera over there. Whatever.
Favors get set up. I'm pretty sure somebody at WME started help pulling the strings to set all this in motion.
So that's how DJ Academics feels. He's obviously very connected within the industry and has a very good understanding of the back end when it comes to all things entertainment in both the traditional sense and in this online era.
Would you date someone that looks like me?
And she asked them all the same questions. Would you date someone that looks like me? Am I your type? So she kind of when it's the black guests or the urban guests, she asked a set of the same similar questions. It's a little fishy, a little fishy, a little fishy.
Because there's just a person
What does that mean?
like looks exactly like me. They have a twin.
Maybe.
If I had a twin,
Maybe.
would you date them?
If she was like cool and like, you know.
No, she's exactly like me.
These questions really aren't that funny though.
If I like connected with her, you know.
She's exactly like me.
I don't know like how you are though. I've never really been around you, so you know.
Yeah, I'm exactly like this.
All the time.
All the time.
Mm-hmm. Is it kind of strange to anyone else that this woman who is married with children is constantly asking during these interviews with these rappers?
She's clout farming, bro. She's clout farming, bro. There's no other way or thing to think. She's clout farming. She got herself in the perfect position. And she just was catapulting herself up. And I'm gonna be honest, may not be my type of content, but she was doing her thing. She was getting to her bag, securing the family.
If basically they would go out with her, basically they would sleep with her if they like her.
Let me take your plane with me to New York.
Someday.
Do you want to see me on Spirit Airlines?
That'd be kind of cool.
Either way, guys, the drama...
This is gonna be my favorite part. Because I've seen some clips on the good old Twitter sphere of her like talking shit about how Yachty is super awkward when she walked into his house. Like he didn't say anything to her. He was just on his phone. But isn't that part of like your whole aesthetic? Like you're awkward. So why would it bother you so much if you met an actual awkward person?
Drama really started when she did this interview next to a little Yachty.
Why are your teeth so white? Are they real? You grew them yourself.
I pay for myself.
Do you have veneers?
I do have veneers.
That's why they're so white.
You're pretty smart.
How much?
$90,000.
$90,000? I think they were worth it.
Because I wanted Young Thug's dentist. He had the best veneers
Who's
I've ever
that?
seen.
Who?
Young Thug.
Who's that?
So she's profiting off this urban culture. She don't even know who Young Thug is. This obviously rubs some people the wrong way. But the drama...
Look, bro, and that's the thing. I get it. Maybe it's not, you feel me, your forte, but if you're gonna start dibbling and dabbling in it, you gotta learn. You gotta learn what's going around in the circle so you could always be in tune with whatever's going on. You can't just deal with these certain types of individuals and then be like, who's that? I don't know who that is. Who's that? Who's LeBron James? Who's Young Thug? Like, bet you, if I said, who's Ricky Lake? She'd, oh, I know who that is. I don't even know who the fuck Ricky Lake is. I'm pretty sure I just seen a clip of her on fucking Twitter.
Drama didn't start until she made this comment about the little Yachty interview.
Because he was awkward. I walked into his house. He didn't even like say hi to me. So then I was like, said, let's go to the bathroom. So then we go to the bathroom and then we like get out. And then he's like, he's just sitting there with like his two.
And look at how she's interacting with him. She's actually having a regular conversation. It's not no meme, no troll. She's talking. Very animated.
Assistants, and he's not even acknowledging that I'm like in the room, and my camera guy's like setting up. I'm just sitting there like on my phone, like I'm like.
Bro, I really don't. I just think that she's a fake, bro. And she was getting to her bag. No hate on that. But it's like, how are you gonna complain about somebody being awkward or having an awkward experience when your whole fucking thing is to be awkward? Like, your whole thing is to be awkward. There's no way you could complain about any of this stuff if your whole vibe is awkwardness. Like, come on. We not listening to that shit. We not listening to it. Stop playing with us. You're the awkward one.
And then he comes up, he's like, oh, hi. Gives me like a half hug, and I'm just like, hi. Then goes back to his spot, and I'm like, dude, I don't even want to do this. I'm texting my friend, like...
And if you don't want to do it, why don't you just leave? You already did an interview with Drake. You already was up in the up. You could have just dipped. You don't have to use mans. You could have just dipped if it was so bad for you. If it was so awkward.
Actually, I need to leave. This is so awkward. I don't want to, like, what am I doing here? And then she's like, lean into this during the interview, like, call it out. So then during our interview, I was able to be like, why did you do that? Like, why did you make me feel like that? Yeah, so it was actually really, it worked out.
So after this clip went viral, people were basically saying that she was biting the hand that feeds her, saying that she was ungrateful. And people also questioned this like overall change in her temperament when she went on this show with Dave Portnoy and his crew versus the way she acts around these various rappers. And essentially there was a lot of negative commentary around her name. And then Gasoline really...
No. It's fair though, because if all you saw was her in the media being awkward, a lot of people probably wouldn't have even known she was married unless they did the amount of research tomorrow you did for this video, or, you know, the other, like, the people who would have wanted to look into her backstory. Like, you would just think that she's some random chick who's being awkward and farming clout off the hip hop and urban community. And then she goes to a podcast with someone who looks like her. And she's like, hella animated, talking fast, very, very high energy. So, I mean, it could really have a lot of people confused. Like, there's no other way around it.
It got poured on that fire when she posted this video of herself at a Drake concert and it went viral. I mean, I won't lie to you guys, this video actually made me like her a little bit more. I love how Drake's in the background. I tried, really trying to hype up the crowd. And she's just in there with this bold face expression after he literally gave her an entire career. So this was like double biting that hand that feeds you. Kind of saying like, hey, I came to your show and it was so shitty that I had no expression the entire time. And then people noted that after this concert, the two unfollowed each.
I mean, what was the actual point of her like doing that though? If you don't like hip hop music, why'd you go to the concert? Even if he invited you, you could have made something up. Yeah, I'll be busy working on like my next podcast idea, so I won't be able to make this show, but I really appreciate you for inviting me. But you went there and stood there looking awkward and crazy, went viral, and now you might have just disconnected yourself from someone who could have been a plug in the future.
Each other on Instagram, and the interview was deleted from YouTube. So then people obviously started suspecting that these two have some serious beef. Dave Portnoy once again jumps in on the drama.
Silvana's like, I heard that Bobbi slept with Drake and is getting divorced. So I asked her. I DM'd Bobbi.
What? You asked her, did you sleep with Drake and are you getting a divorce?
Yeah. She's like, I'm not commenting on that publicly.
Wait, so you just outed her?
Oh.
You just outed her not public comment?
And so that was the rumor going around, was that she
You just outed her not public comment. He said, "Oh shit." Yes, I did.
smashed Drake backstage, and that she'll now be getting a divorce from her husband. Well, she responded to those claims via her Instagram story saying, I didn't even want to do this podcast, and she's talking about the podcast with Dave in the first place, and now so much negativity is coming from it. I'm going to leave it alone after this, but this is the uncensored DM between Dave and I. Here's this boy Dave getting the scoop saying, my girlfriend says you hooked up with Drake and got divorced. I am saying that is not true. And then she says, I'm not commenting publicly, but off the record, you're right, that is not true. And so at this point, we really don't know what the truth is surrounding this woman. We don't know necessarily what's real and what's fake when it comes to her whole story, her whole arc. She really likes to go with this idea that she's broke, that she's not making any sort of money off these podcasts, that everything has been organic up until this point, that she just was shooting her shot with Drake and he said yes. But as of right now, like if this ends up being her actual downfall, it has to be one of the biggest rises and falls that we've ever seen within the podcast space in this short amount of time. I mean, with podcasting in general, I feel like it's kind of a...
Anywho, I'll take over on this last portion. You feel me? Realistically, I feel like podcasting was going to decline anyway, unless you're really just a very entertaining person and you have really interesting takes. She was doing something that I think only certain people could pull off properly. The whole... Excuse me, sorry about that. The whole awkward phase and the whole awkward thing. Only certain people could really pull that off, like, smoothly and make it a long-term thing. I think maybe she just got, like, too clouded too fast and just started doing shit. Maybe she really didn't know what she was trying to do in the direction she wanted to go in, and she was just rolling with the punches as it was happening. Or maybe she really is an industry plant. You guys let me know what you think in the comments, baby. You feel me?